Because I discovered something in Christianity. If you are not careful, few things will happen to you and you will never notice. By the way, before I proceed, let's celebrate Apostle Sam. He's here to share fellowship with us. Thank you for coming. It's good to have you. And again, let's celebrate God's servant, Minister Abraham Akatu. It's always good to see you. Mighty minstrel of God. And he is a great blessing to the body of Christ. Thank you so much for coming. And so, like I was saying, if you are not careful, you may not pay attention to know why you do what you do. And if you don't pay attention to really examine why you do what you do, the first thing that will happen to you is that what you do will no longer have a spiritual essence. It will become a religious activity. And because you keep that cycle running, you may not realize that you're wasting your life. Secondly, if you don't take out time to troubleshoot and ask the Lord these kinds of questions for him to speak to you, a point will come, aside spiritual things that should really change your life, becoming religious activities, it will just become an act you indulge in to give yourself a sense of value. But that is not why God allocated these sacred realities to us. God didn't invite us to fellowship just for us to have a religion. That would have been a waste of existence. And God did not invite us to fellowship for us to have something we do that gives us a sense of value. For example, you may find yourself praying every day, and the prayer just makes you feel that you are a Christian. And that was the undoing of the Pharisees. They were so disciplined. They carried out spiritual things so meticulously. If a Pharisee goes to the market and is coming back, before he enters his house, he will wash his hands and his feet for ceremonial cleanliness, because he has made contact with unclean people. A Pharisee would take pride in the fact that he is capable of keeping several laws, and it does not translate to a relationship with God, and he doesn't care. He's just observing these ordinances, carrying out these religious rituals, and at the end of the day, when a Pharisee scores himself, he doesn't score himself because his relationship with God is improving. He scores himself because he's able to keep the ordinances. So much so that Jesus was giving a parable, and he spoke about a sinner and a Pharisee that went to pray. And the Pharisee looked up to heaven and began to outline his credentials to God. How that he keeps every ordinance. How that is better than the man kneeling on the other side praying. And Jesus said the sinner, he is not given to these activities because he doesn't do it. He said, but the sinner could not as much as look into heaven. He was broken because of his sins, and he cried to God for mercy. And Jesus asked the question. He said, when these two people walk out of that place, which of them would have received from the Lord? The Pharisee that kept all the ordinances, never missed one, went to God's presence, and instead of approval, he was rejected. The sinner that seldom goes to God's presence, who just came because he's broken, did not just receive God's approval, but God validated him and used him as an example for the religious man who is a master of spiritual things. And so the power that should be in the prayer was no longer there. The prayer became a show. And so when the spirits looked upon it, they realized the man was excelling in the activity, but the essence was not understood. And so it dawned on me that if we are not careful, a point may come and what we do, our